New games for old systems is something I love. I obviously talk about them a lot on the channel because they're just really fascinating to me. It's awesome to see retro systems still getting game support in 2018 and beyond. It seems like there's definitely a large community of people who appreciate these games. And one of the games I've talked about on this channel before is Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death. Now, this was a Kickstarter game that was put together by Collectorvision Games with conjunction with Gamester81, who's also a member of Collectorvision Games. And it's a game that I was always interested in, so much in fact that because of my coverage, they actually reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to help test the game out. So I've actually been following this project sort of behind the scenes for a couple years now, and it's been just a fascinating thing to see it come to fruition on the Super Nintendo. Well, the day has finally come, and Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death is now available for the Super Nintendo. Now, obviously, since I was a tester for this game, I'm not going to just do a standard review of it because obviously I am sort of tied into the game. I have no monetary value or interest in the game. I don't get any kickbacks if the game sells well. I was simply just someone who tested the game out and, you know, reported bugs and things like that. But they definitely hooked me up with a proper copy. So I want to give a big shout out to both Gamester81 and Jean from Collectorvision Games for hooking this up, because they not only did a boxed version of the game, but they sent in the soundtrack and some cool collector's cards. So basically we're going to take a look at all of these goodies. We're going to see what all comes in the box. And then of course we're going to check out the game to make sure it ended up being good. The last build I played was really fun of it. So hopefully you guys will think the same, and hopefully the finished product is as good as that build was. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look at Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death for the Super Nintendo.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! Now, before we get into the actual gameplay footage and my thoughts on the actual game, of course, we're going to look at the box and the goodies. So the box is really well done. The graphical style, you could tell, is definitely something that probably resonates with you if you're, you know, late 20s to early 40s. It was actually done by the designer of Garbage Pail Kids, and it just looks beautiful. I just love the artwork for this game. You can see on the back of the box, more great artwork, some screenshots of the game, and a description. They also included these two cards, collector's cards, which are super cool, little checklist of sketches and stuff. And the cool thing about Sydney Hunter is it's not just a one-off game. They're actually trying to make like a whole brand of Sydney Hunter games. So the Super Nintendo version of the game is actually very different from the Nintendo Switch version that's been announced recently, that is sort of a different style of game. I've actually played that game before too, and that game feels like Shovel Knight and Castlevania sort of combined with an Indiana Jones aesthetic. It's really interesting. But these cards are super cool, and on the back it shows you the different types of Sydney Hunter games that will be coming out. And of course, we have the soundtrack, which features 14 different tracks on here. Super cool. I did not expect this, so definitely something I want to check out. Now, let us unbox this bad boy, because let's face it, there are varying degrees of quality when it comes to Super Nintendo releases. So let's check out the cartridge now. This is made of all new parts. I know some people don't like it when they use donor carts of like old sports games or something. The cart, the board, everything is brand new. And this label quality is very, very nice. Nice screws in here as well. They're actual screws. They're not just plastic. So I know some people sort of hark on that sort of stuff. I just wanted to point it out. It looks just like an original Super Nintendo game. So very, very cool. Very nice quality here. Inside, we also have a beautiful full color instruction booklet, which, you know, is a lost art in the world of gaming nowadays. You could see that it has story elements. It has the characters that you'll encounter, what sort of things you're going to find in there, all sorts of cool stuff, passwords for the levels, and of course, the coolest part, your boy, right there. Yes, I am in a Super Nintendo game. But yeah, so the packaging is immensely high quality. You know, I can't say anything better than that because it is very impressive. Now, let's take a look at the game and see what the game is all about, to see if this is a game that you would be interested in. So this is the intro story for Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death. You approach a mountain called Mount Doom that has been uninhabited by any people. There's people that live there on the mountain already, but no other people have ever gone there, even though there's lots of cool stuff like treasure and rubies and diamonds and crystal skulls. Now everyone is afraid to go there because of what is on the mountain. Well, I should say everyone is afraid except for one person, and that one person, of course, is Sydney Hunter himself. So you take control of Sydney Hunter and you are thrust into these different caverns. Now, each cavern is sort of a different area. It plays a lot like a 2D puzzle platformer would be the best way to describe this game. Sydney has his boomerang, which is his main weapon of attack to take out things like bats and other enemies in the area. And you're basically trying to go through these levels and find different sorts of treasure. Now, there's treasure that you get that will accumulate your score, and then there's treasure that you actually need to advance. You put treasure on different pedestals, and once the pedestal is put down, you open another area of the map. It starts out very simplistic. I won't get too deep into the game because I want to leave some surprises for you guys. So I'll just show a couple levels. Levels 2 and 3 are what we're going to look at today. But you can see here, I put the little tiki statue on this area, and now I'm able to access a different area. And you basically are just going around trying to figure out things like that, you know, just trying to figure out where to put what item. And it gets a lot more intricate as the game goes on. It becomes just one thing in one area to several things in several areas. Now you see we have some gold here and a pineapple. A pineapple is a 1-up, which I obviously need because I failed that jump miserably. But I get my little pineapple here, I pick up my gold, and I go on my way. And this is the main thing we're looking for, the crystal skulls. And when you pick up a crystal skull or certain items, the lava starts to rise in the level. So now you're pretty much having to move at a brisk pace to avoid the lava and stay alive. Now, one thing I like is when you die in the game, you start back at the screen that you died at. So you don't have to go all the way back and do everything that you've already done. You just start right back there. Jumping around, you got to pretty much hit everything. Things like water will hurt you, which is a very European sort of gameplay mechanic that you tend to see. But right now we're just trying to get out of here before the lava starts to rise. You can see I just used a little boomerang to get down there. And the enemies do reappear in areas that you've already been in. So if you leave an area and come back, all of the enemies will be back in that area. That is worth mentioning if that's something that bothers you, I guess. But as you can see, here is the main thing, and we put our crystal skull on there and move to the next area. Now here's a look at level 3. A lot of the levels do look the same, but the layouts are completely different. And like I said, there's different items that sort of trigger that lava rise. So we're going to pick up this diamond here, and now we have a ghost who takes multiple hits, and I was actually worried. I was kind of like, am I supposed to kill this guy, or am I just supposed to avoid him? Luckily, I did get him handled, and we made our way out of here. Now level 3 really starts to open up the gameplay, though, with the different things you have to put on the different little statues in order to unlock different areas. This is actually a pretty complex level, which is sort of a theme for the game. The game does offer a password system. You get a password after completing each level for the next level, so you don't have to beat it all in one sitting. But see here, we put the diamond here, and now we have the tiki torch. So now we have to go put the tiki torch in the appropriate place. So it's kind of a memorization thing, but I like the way the game flows. You know, the visuals are nice and clean. The soundtrack is pretty good as well. The control is pretty fluid. Sydney controls pretty well. The hit mechanics are pretty decent. You have a little tiki torch that you can take out at any time. So it's a good game. I'm enjoying it. So do I like Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death? I mean, of course I do. I actually bought a t-shirt years ago when the game was first announced just because I love the style of it. So obviously I do have some sort of attachment to the game. I wanted to show the gameplay footage to you guys though, so you could pretty much make your decision on whether this is a game you want to check out. If you're interested in the game, I'll have a link to where you could purchase the game in the description box down below. I may actually make it a pinned comment as well, because it's definitely a labor of love. You know, this was a Kickstarter project that actually came to fruition, And, you know, a small company just creating a brand new Super Nintendo experience in 2018, that's pretty cool in my opinion. So I just wanted to spotlight this game. I thought you guys would be interested in it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the game, if you backed it on Kickstarter or if you plan on picking up a copy. And thank you for checking out this video. As always, be sure to hit that like button. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't yet. Check out the description box for all sorts of fun links besides just the purchase link. There's a website, t-shirts, Patreon, social media, all sorts of ways to keep up to date with RGT85, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Later.
RGT 85. RGT 85. RGT